Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Lakers and Clippers. The Clippers are right where they want to be, but what about the Lakers? Are they where they want to be, or what do they have to do to step it up? Also, how about USC's women's basketball team sweeping the Oregon schools as they just pull off a big win over Oregon State, and they just thumped Oregon. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for UCLA, as they will be playing the Ducks of Oregon today, and they are coming off of a tough 2-point loss to Oregon State. But how about California Baptist women's basketball team taking down Grand Canyon in a huge WAC women's basketball game? Huge win for the Lady Lancers, as they're only a half game behind the Lopes. Also, the MLS starts next week. Will LAFC be able to replicate its success from the past two seasons? Will the Galaxy actually look decent? Also, the Kings got a big win last time around, but there was a point where the Ducks and the Kings had such an awful showing in a day. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Sunday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way to episode 168 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be live on Spreaker without IE Sports Radio to providing the platform. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page for those that still use Facebook. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar, like us, and then that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. And we also have a website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our page dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, going on 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports teams around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout to both, I repeat, both of our sponsors, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit plantjerky.net and place your order. In addition, prices are slashed for the time being, and if you buy an order's worth of $50 or more, you'll get the order shipped for free. Once again, a huge shout to our sponsor, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Our second sponsor is Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitationals, and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend, and you want to add their smile to when they receive it. If that's the case, then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts is for you. You bring the deal, and we'll bring the seal. A huge shout once again to Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And I'm mainly active on X, formerly known as Twitter, myself, at Teran Rodriguez 1. And without any further delay, let us begin. As I first and foremost have to apologize to everyone. I apologize if I was shuffling the show day around. I was supposed to go live Friday, but I had a lot of stuff to take care of on Friday, so I wanted to move it to Saturday, but I got new internet, and I had to switch my internet plan, well, my family's internet plan, so I couldn't do the show then. So it was almost looking like I wasn't going to be able to do the show today, but fortunately I found this window frame to do the show, and thank goodness I am able to talk some SoCal goodness, because we have quite a bit to talk about. It's not going to be a long show, but I will be able to get into some meat and potatoes of some SoCal sports action, as we have people in the chat room. Patty Bex is in. Ralph Cleese is in. Adam Clark says, Teran, I've got John Cena's walk-up music playing in my head. Can I assume that's for you? Yes. Yes, you can. And Ralph Cleese says, I was thinking legend myself. 168 episodes. That's great. Appreciate you, Ralph. And I'm glad you all are able to tune in. Jen B's also in the chat room. Appreciate you all tuning in. Alright, so there's not going to be too much news to go over regarding the NFL. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl because screw that. But the Chargers did manage to make another hire on this week's installment of Days of Our Bolts. So the Chargers just recently hired for their offensive assistant. They hired former Bears head coach Mark Trestman as the senior offensive assistant for the Chargers. So for those that are wondering, yes, he is the former Chicago Bears head coach. And I was wondering if this was going to be a good move or a bad move. And Adam Clark, I'm glad you were in the chat room. He says he was asking, well, why? And I was wondering, so why is this a bad move? So Adam says, Trestman is a terrific coach in the CFL. So the CFL it's not the NFL. I want to say it's like not the Collegiate Football League. But it's a football league that's not the NFL. But it's still professional football. So Trestman was a terrific coach in the CFL. In the NFL, it hasn't worked out. He completely lost the locker room in 2014. Ooh. Typically, his offenses would get solved no later than the first year, and he had no counter moves. I'd be genuinely curious to how he would help Harbaugh. Oh, Canadian Football League. All right, thank you. So he was successful in the Canadian Football League, which is awesome, but honestly, it never really worked out with the Chicago Bears. Well, hopefully for the Chargers' sake, I expect them to be better. I mean, I'm not expecting anything too big, because yes, it's going to take some time for the Chargers to put 2 plus 2 together, but they should vie for a playoff spot, especially since they have a fairly easy schedule. They've got the Cardinals, they've got the Patriots, which hopefully they're able to win in New England yet again. And they've also got some good contenders. They're facing all of the AFC South or AFC North, and then they've got the NFC South. So there's that right there, and then they obviously have their AFC West opponents they're facing twice a season. So Adam says in Canada, he was considered their version of Bill Belichick. Well, that's kind of good praise that for Mark Trestman, but this isn't the CFL. He's going to the NFL. So I'm just hoping that Jim Harbaugh doesn't let him have too much control, and hopefully doesn't pull a Joe Lombardi. So there you have it right there, and that's kind of the only true news we have for the Chargers, and there wasn't any news for the Rams. So this is your latest installment of Days of Our Bolts. So there you have it right there. But I guess there's one more bit of news, but the Chargers have retained their special teams coach Ryan Ficken, which is good. And so Ficken with the Chargers the Chargers with Ficken was second in punt return average in last season. In 2022, they were third in punt return average. they had 4 special teams players of the week, and the Chargers had a 97.2 percentage of field goals and PATs made, which was the highest in the NFL the last 2 seasons. So, well, I guess it's better than what Chargers special teams has been in the past. So, good that the Chargers have Ficken still retained, and that's great news. I hope that they can keep him. They can keep him from now until the end of time. And having Cameron Dicker, the kicker, is also great news for the Chargers as well. So hopefully they can keep their special teams coordinator and their kicker for as long as they can. And hopefully special teams will not ever, ever, ever be an issue for the Chargers. All right, but that's going to do it. That's officially going to do it for the Chargers. And the Chargers retaining special teams coordinator Ryan Ficken was actually announced not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So there you have it right there. All right, but there's that for the NFL portion of the show. So now let's jump into a little college football. So there was actually some big news regarding the college football scene, and that actually was courtesy of UCLA. So UCLA has hired their new head coach following Chip Kelly's departure to Ohio State, where he will be the offensive coordinator. Your new head coach of UCLA football is, go get a drum roll, please, Troy Foster. So you all are probably wondering, well, who is Troy Foster, and is he any good? Well, for starters, he's actually a UCLA alum, so good. So that's definitely good, and he's had some other coordinator positions right there. So honestly, I think I'm all in on this. I definitely am happy for UCLA football and who they got as their head coach. So hopefully, for their sake, they won't be able to drop the ball on this. And I said Troy Foster, I meant Deshaun Foster. So Deshaun Foster is the new UCLA football coach, and Deshaun Foster was definitely a great hire. It's good to have familiarity within the program, let alone an alum. I definitely think that is a great hire for them. And UCLA has sent a few players to the draft combine, as well as USC and the other SoCal schools. But Deshaun Foster is a great hire, and I think he could do special things for UCLA. Will UCLA have the success that they had this season and last season? That's going to depend, especially since they're moving to the ever-so-tough Big Ten. So, Jen B says, I'm just glad they didn't steal Tommy Rees from Cleveland. That name didn't even cross my mind, but I think Deshaun Foster is a great hire based on him being a SoCal guy, a UCLA guy, and having some football familiarity, whether it's in the pros or in college. So I think Deshaun Foster is going to do great things. And as I said on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show X account, I think it's a great hire, and I like this hire. Again, you got to hire people that you know can lead the program, and you have to hire people that actually have street smarts. I mean, yes, they could probably have hired Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel, but honestly, I think they're better off getting a UCLA alum. But well, it is what it is for UCLA, and I'm just glad they have a head coach. I'm glad they're not just hiring someone off the streets and whatnot. But that's that for UCLA news right there, and all of the college football news. There's not too much news to go over outside of the players heading to the draft combine, like Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice. But all in all, that's going to do it for the college football scene. Now let's jump to some college hoops, just because, college hoops is what's reigning supreme. So, starting on the men's side, it seems to continue to get worse and worse for USC. I mean, they had a bright spot this week. They managed to beat Utah, which Utah has been utter garbage truck juice on the road. Yeah, Utah's away record is 1-6, but their home record is a whopping 12-2. So, USC only beat them by 4, mind you. That was basically that's basically sad right there. I mean, obviously, Isaiah Collier contributed. He had 15 points to lead USC in the win. But, honestly, you're facing a Utah team who sucks on the road. So, Davidson Crooks comments and leads something to what I was about to discuss next. USC fumbled in overtime against Colorado. And yes, they did. They wound up losing to Colorado at home in overtime, 92-89, and that's just straight up sad. It was in double overtime, mind you, and USC actually led by 2 late in the game. I think there was like 11 or 13 seconds left, and Colorado tied it up, and then in overtime, it was the exact opposite. USC actually trailed, and then USC was able to force double overtime, but USC just fell short in double overtime as they basically ran out of gas, and that's basically describing USC's season in a nutshell. I just don't understand how this team just continues to find ways to fumble the bag. The season's, like, this is probably, like, of all the teams in college basketball, I think USC has to be the most disappointing, considering they have all this talent, they had the number 1 recruit, they had one of the top recruiting classes from 2023, they got Bronny James, they got some of their players back from last year, and what's their record? 10-16. In addition, they are near the bottom of the Pac-12 standings. If it wasn't for Oregon State being worse than USC, I think USC would be dead last for sure. So as for USC, they are back in action next Saturday when they take on UCLA on ESPN. They're actually going to be playing on national television. I get UCLA is much better than they were back then, because you have to remember, they got drubbed by Utah by 46 points, and ever since then, they actually... UCLA has actually won 8 of their last 9. And speaking of UCLA, they actually are playing Utah today as we speak. And like I said, they've won 8 of their last 9. And I really think they could actually make the NCAA tournament. I feel this could be the case of too little too late. And they may need a statement win over Arizona. What they can't do is they can't afford to fall at the hands of any subpar team, aka USC. So as for UCLA, they beat Colorado on Thursday 64-60. Last Saturday, they just barely beat Cal 61-60. And then this past Wednesday, they beat Stanford 82-74 on the road, which is good. And I'm glad they were able to beat Colorado, because Colorado is a solid team. But now they face Utah, which UCLA should win. Since Utah is such a sucky road team, UCLA should have little to no problem. If UCLA can't beat Utah, who only has 1 true away win, UCLA does not deserve the tournament. I'm just going to say that right there and now. UCLA doesn't deserve the NCAA tournament if they're losing to Utah. Because remember, they got beaten down by Utah the first go-around. They lost by 46 back in Salt Lake City. And ever since then, UCLA has won 8 of their last 9, which is definitely a massive improvement. They even have a win over Oregon, which no longer leads the Pac-12 conference. And that lone loss was only to Arizona, which is not a bad thing. But if they want to slay the dragon, they got to beat the likes of Arizona. And they also have to beat the likes of Washington State as well. That's going to also be a tough one, going to Spokane to take down, or Pullman. I'm sorry, Pullman, not Spokane. I'm thinking of Gonzaga, but UCLA taking on Washington State is going to be a toughie. Davidson says that UCLA doesn't think they'll get in regardless. Yeah, this could be the case of too little too late, just because I feel UCLA is probably NIT bound, and which isn't a bad thing, but you have to remember, they had some pretty questionable results, because they played some of their Pac-12 results close during this 8 of 9 game win streak. They also lost to CSUN, which was not a good loss. They lost to Maryland. They lost to Ohio State, which is now looking a little better on their resume. They lost to Gonzaga by not a whole lot. They lost to Marquette by not a whole lot, which I thought was pretty good. If they beat Marquette, they would be solid. And they only lost to Gonzaga by 4. But again, only beating UCLA on a go-ahead jumper, that's not a good look for them. They also lost to Villanova. So the list goes on and on of some nasty losses. They even lost to Cal early on in the season at home. So for UCLA, the only way I could see them possibly getting in is probably winning the Pac-12 tournament. If not beating Arizona on the last week of this regular season and then just having an impressive showing in the Pac-12 tournament. But I kind of have to agree with Davidson. I think UCLA is in the case of this whole win streak came too little too late. Because does the committee really want to put UCLA in after they have some pretty shoddy losses to teams they know that they can beat? No. Davidson also says too many Group 5 schools are better than UCLA this season. So Power 5 schools. So yeah, that's also, you also have to factor that in as well. From like the SEC, the Big 12, maybe the Big 10, the ACC. So yeah, you also have to factor in other Power 5 schools as well. So we'll see what happens with UCLA. But for right now, I definitely do agree with what Davidson is saying. He'll definitely be talking about college basketball on Fast Break at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. UCLA overall is 14-11, but UCLA. Here's the thing: they're only 2 games back of Arizona and a game and a half back of Washington State. But it doesn't mean squat if they're not going to be winning these games, or if their opponents are still going to be holding pat or standing pat. Regardless, it is just going to have to be a waiting game for the Bruins on if they'll get in. All right, jumping over to some Big West Conference play for men's basketball. So the hottest team as of late is, well, there are 2 hot teams in the Big West in men's basketball. Long Beach State, which has won 4 in a row, and UC Riverside, which has won 4 in a row, which is good. Only difference is with Long Beach State is that they actually have some quality wins. And Davidson actually says the Group 5, meaning Mountain West, American Conference, and etc. So I'm assuming that also includes like the Big East Conference, which is definitely big right there. So yeah, okay. So yeah, Group 5 meaning is not Power 5, but I definitely did not take into consideration other Power 5 schools in the Group 5 meaning, like Mountain West and American Conference and whatnot. So okay, thank you for explaining that to me. I'm not the most diehard college basketball fan, but I definitely do know UCLA does have a rich history, but it's been a while since they've actually had the true big success. And San Diego State should be on that bubble, but we'll be talking about that a little bit later. Right now, like I said, back to the Big West, Long Beach State, they have some quality wins, but the problem is that they're just so far back of the Big West Conference. UC Irvine is now leading the conference at 12-2. And UC San Diego is 11-3. Keep in mind that UC San Diego is unfortunately ineligible for the NCAA tournament and the Big West Conference tournament just because they're still in that transition period from Division II all the way up to Division I. So it's unfortunate for the Tritons, meaning if the season ended today, UC Irvine would be the top seed, UC Davis would be the 2 seed, and Long Beach State would be the 3 seed, which is good. And then CSUN would be the 4 seed. Then Santa Barbara 5 seed, Hawaii 6 seed, Riverside 7 seed, Bakersfield 8 seed, Fullerton 9 seed, and then Cal Poly 10 seed. Unfortunately, Cal Poly has yet to register a conference win, but it is what it is. So looking at UC Irvine, they actually just narrowly escaped a loss against Bakersfield at home. They get another big test when they host UC Santa Barbara this Thursday. And then next Saturday they play UC San Diego, which, again, it's not going to have too much impact, especially since they are 2.5 games ahead of UC Davis. But I think it would just mean, the loss can go a long way due to the fact of Big West Conference, the committee seeding and the NCAA tournament seeding if UC Irvine wins the tournament. So yeah, UC Irvine is ahead of the pack in the Big West. And then Long Beach State, like I said, they've won 4 in a row. I'd really like as an alum, I'm not just saying this as an alum, but I'd like to see Long Beach State also get into the tournament. But the problem is, they do have some splash wins, but the USC win is starting to look worse and worse by the day. And then I'm pretty sure Michigan is not good, and I'm not so sure about DePaul. I mean, the DePaul win was a good one, and the Montana State win was a pretty solid one as well. But yeah, the Montana State one, as Montana State... Let's look at... Montana State is 11-15. Yikes. Okay, so that's not really a great win. And then the DePaul win. DePaul was 0-2 at the time, and they played the ever so tough Big East Conference. But DePaul is 3-22. Oh gosh. So there are not a whole lot of those solid wins. Yeah. Michigan is not looking good, as Michigan is 8-18. Weren't they just? Yeah, it feels like yesterday they were in the Elite Eight 3 seasons ago, back in the post-COVID year. But yeah, Long Beach State needs to win the conference tournament, otherwise they're going to be up a creek without a paddle. There's no better way of saying it for Long Beach State. Yeah, as flashy and nice as those conference win or as those non-conference wins are, they just aren't. It's not looking sexy to like have the committee say, let's put Long Beach State as an at-large. No. So it's either win the Big West Conference tournament or play in the NIT. There you go. All right, that's that for some Big West Conference men's basketball. All right, jumping over to some women's, or not women's basketball, jumping over to the Mountain West Conference. So San Diego State, all right, San Diego State, the big one right here. They had a big week and a successful one at that, as they knocked off New Mexico on Friday 81-70, and they just thumped Colorado State 71-55. And I don't remember who said this, but the guy, I think his name is like Joel Bernstein. He said the Mountain West goes through the Viejas Arena, which is translation for San Diego State still owns the Mountain West Conference. Don't you even try to underestimate them. And that's good that they had those 2 wins, because remember, they were coming off of a tough overtime loss to Nevada, which I thought San Diego State should have won. But San Diego State continues its gauntlet, as Tuesday they hit the road to take on Utah State. And then Saturday they're back in California, but this time they have to go down to Northern California to take on Fresno State. So in the standings, however, San Diego State is actually tied for Utah State, which that's a huge matchup on their hands. They got to win that matchup. I'd like to see them win that matchup. They're still in the gauntlet stage of their schedule. But once they're done with Utah State, then they'll kind of have a little bit of a breather, as they'll take on Fresno State. And then after that, it's San Jose State, which should be winnable. And then they've got UNLV, which is in the middle of the pack. And then Boise State is their last conference game before the conference tournament. So it's a big few weeks for San Diego State. I still think they can make the NCAA tournament. They do have 20 wins. Yes, they do have a few losses here and there, mainly from the Mountain West Conference. But the Mountain West Conference has been such a bloodbath. Like, every team has at least 4 losses. Between San Diego State, Utah State, Boise State, Colorado State, and New Mexico, and maybe Nevada, and maybe UNLV. But the first 5 that I just mentioned, those teams are still in contention for the Mountain West Conference championship, or at least for winning the regular season title. And then Nevada and UNLV, they're still in the hunt. They're only a game and a half back of Utah State and San Diego State. And then Wyoming still has an outside shot. The closeness or logjam doesn't end until Fresno State, San Jose State, and Air Force. So there you have it right there. That is that for San Diego State men's basketball. Jumping over to the West Coast Conference. I will say this. The West Coast, the SoCal teams from the West Coast Conference are actually getting better. They're no longer in the cellar of the West Coast Conference. They're actually moving on up, with San Diego actually being the best of the bunch. It's not really all that great. But San Diego, unfortunately, did lose to Santa Clara in their most recent game, 82-69. On Thursday, San Diego took down Portland 71-66, and they also took down Pacific not this past Saturday, but the previous Saturday, 89-84. So that's good news. And Pepperdine also isn't in the cellar, as their most recent game saw them taking down Portland 91-70. That was good because this past Thursday, Pepperdine got smoked by St. Mary's 103-59. And then in round 2 of the PCH Cup, Pepperdine took down LMU at LMU 72-63. And then LMU is unfortunately the ugly duck. Okay, I wouldn't say ugly duckling, but they're the black sheep of the 3 SoCal teams in the West Coast Conference, as their most recent game, LMU got thumped by San Francisco, 82-59, and then this past Thursday, Gonzaga stomped on LMU, 91-74. And then, like I said, their PCH Cup game went south. So, again, nothing too big regarding the SoCal teams from the West Coast Conference, as we'll close out NCAA men's basketball with CBU, as they unfortunately had 2 tough losses this past week, as their most recent one came at the hands of Grand Canyon, falling to them 79-76. And then Thursday, Utah Valley really crushed CBU, losing 69-46. So the Lancers have lost 3 in a row, as they also lost to Utah Tech 85-78 on the 10th of February. As CBU is now 5th in the WAC, aka the Western Athletic Conference, they're only a half game back of Utah Tech, or UT Arlington. I'm sorry, they're only a half game back of UT Arlington. They're a game and a half back of Seattle, and they're probably nowhere near as where they want to be in terms of Tarleton State and GCU. But they almost beat GCU. It just would have been great if they actually pulled off the win. But I digress. All right, but that's that for college men's basketball. Jumping over to the women's side. All right, UCLA is playing Oregon, and they are just they're carving up the ducks. They're roasting the ducks. They're glazing the ducks. They're barbecuing the ducks. They're cooking the ducks. They're deep frying the ducks. They're having the duck well done. UCLA women's hoops is just cooking against Oregon. And that's good because UCLA actually had a tough, heartbreaking loss to Oregon State. They lost 79-77 in Corvallis against Oregon State. Now, Oregon State's not a bad team. I think Oregon State is actually a pretty solid team, if you ask me. It's just that this loss comes at an inconvenient time just because UCLA is still trying to vie for that number 1 seed, which they're now... their odds of winning the regular season Pac-12 title is pretty slim. So after today, UCLA is back in action as they're back home on Thursday and on next Monday against Utah and Colorado. So they get the Rocky Mountain schools, and they're actually both those games are going to be on national television, which I think is pretty awesome. But looking at UCLA in the Pac-12 standings, barring they don't have a massive collapse against Oregon, UCLA will be 3 games back, so they'll be tied with Utah. As for USC, I guess I forgot to mention, UCLA is ranked 9th in the AP polls, which is great, but now they're going to probably go down a little further just because they lost to Oregon State. USC, on the other hand, they actually had a successful week as they pushed their winning streak to 6. They pushed their winning streak to 6. As their most recent game, they took down Oregon State on the road, 58-50. That was a big game right there, as Juju Watkins only had 18 points. Yes, notice how I said the word only had. If she didn't have her best shooting night, she was 6 for 32 from the field. But thankfully, Rhea Marshall stepped up for USC. They also had Mackenzie Forbes stepping up. So thankfully, USC didn't have their best game, but they had enough in the tank to take down Oregon State on the road. And then 2 nights before that, USC took down Oregon on the road big time in Eugene, 88-51. Woo! The game was decided by the first quarter. USC was up 29-7. And Oregon's seen better days in women's basketball. But Juju Watkins, that game, she had 33 points. She was nearly 50% from the field. Now, obviously, there's a whole difference between Oregon State and Oregon. Oregon State is way better than Oregon, and Oregon is kind of in that rebuild phase. But USC is only 2 games back of Stanford in the Pac-12 standings, which isn't bad. But the schedule, once again, starts to pick up as they've got Colorado and Utah at home. And then they close out the season against the Arizona schools. So if for some reason USC wins out and then they get a little bit of help from the Oregon, well, Stanford closes out with Arizona and Arizona State at home. And then they play Oregon State and Oregon to close out the season. So USC is going to need a miracle if they want to snatch that top seed in the Pac-12 conference tournament. But looking at USC, they should be fine for the Pac-12 conference tournament. I hope for their sake they're able to they're not going to get one and done like they did last year. Because if I recall correctly, they lost to Arizona State. But USC should be a lock for the NCAA tournament, barring they don't lose their last few games. I still think they should be fine for the NCAA tournament. But time will tell. You never know what the committee has in store for everybody. All right, looking at USC, like that mentioned, USC's win over Oregon State came today. But another big-time team that actually had a big-time win yesterday was CBU, California Baptist, as they knocked off Grand Canyon 71-65. I had my eye on this game quite a bit because this was going to be the game that CBU needed to rise to the occasion. Now, unfortunately for CBU, they lost to Utah Valley 92-89 in overtime. And I actually was going to have a guest on to discuss this, but because of the uncertainty on if I was going to go live or when I was going to go live, unfortunately I just could not, get him on. But hopefully I can get him on next week. It all depends. Anyway, so for CBU, it was a huge win yesterday as they're only a half game back of GCU because GCU has not had their second bye. But it's good because CBU is right on the coattails of the Lopes, and all CBU has to do is become consistent. The reason why they're a half game back of GCU is because, well, A, GCU hasn't taken their second bye, but also because CBU's conference losses were both in overtime to Utah Valley and to, Abilene Christian. And I know that CBU can definitely win against those teams, especially at home. Something y'all need to make note of is that CBU is actually 11-0 at home, which I think is pretty darn good if you ask me. All of their losses have come away, which obviously sucks, but it is what it is. So CBU is back in action Thursday when they host Abilene Christian, and then next Saturday they host Tarleton State. Now, I hope for CBU's sake they learn their lesson against Abilene Christian. And I kind of fear that CBU looked ahead when they played Utah Valley. I think that was the problem. I think that Utah Valley game was a massive trap game. And the interesting thing is that was Utah Valley's first OT game of the season. They actually went overtime with, who was it? I think it was Utah Tech. No, it was Southern Utah. Close. I was close. But Utah Valley went double overtime with Southern Utah and wound up losing by 1. So for CBU, it's all about, I don't know if they need to win the conference tournament. I don't know if they'll get in. I don't know if they have the strongest body of work. There's nothing that on the schedule that makes me scream that this is going to be a at-large team. But it is what it is. Jumping over to San Diego State. So San Diego State had themselves a nice little successful week, semi-successful week. So this past Saturday, they took down Utah State in big-time fashion, 90-62. But on Wednesday, they fell on the road at Nevada, 72-71. And then not this past Saturday, but the previous Saturday, they edged out San Jose State, 63-62. So San Diego State, they still have a ways. UNLV is practically running away with the regular season conference title, as San Diego State is 1.5 back of New Mexico and Wyoming, but they're 4.5 back of UNLV. So San Diego State is back in action on Wednesday at the Viejas Arena against Air Force, and then they won't be back in action until February 28th when they hit the road to take on New Mexico. So San Diego State, it's unfortunately looking like they're going to have to win their conference tournament. If they do, then they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. But UNLV is just so darn good. As Patty says, I have to head to the student mass at the University of Buffalo. Great show so far, Teran. We're going to home with the Dum-Dums of the week. I will, Patty, I will. But going back to San Diego State, yeah, it's no surprise that they stomped all over Utah State. Like, they're not that good. I'm sorry to say, but they're not that good. All right, now go head on over to the West Coast Conference. I probably should have talked Big West, but I'll save that for last. So, yeah, in women's basketball, but for LMU, San Diego, and Pepperdine, it's not looking good. So San Diego's last games, they lost on this past Saturday they beat LMU this past Saturday 66-50, and then on Thursday they were able to beat Pepperdine 69-49, which they were coming off of. They've actually won 3 of their last 4, with their only loss being against Santa Clara. But San Diego is not the best of the 3 teams. That honor actually belongs to LMU, as they have now lost 4 in a row. They lost 4 in a row. As I said, they lost to San Diego in their most recent game, and then the Saturday before this past one, they got stomped all over by Gonzaga, 71-47. So, yeah, LMU being the best of the worst in terms of the SoCal schools from the West Coast Conference. Yeah, that's painful. And then Pepperdine, do I really got to go over Pepperdine? Unfortunately, they lost to St. Mary's 75-47 in their most recent game. Then, like I said, Thursday they lost to San Diego by 20 at home. And then Saturday, February 10th, Portland crushed Pepperdine 78-46. Fortunately for Pepperdine, they do have a conference win, but unfortunately for them, they're becoming the doormat of the West Coast Conference. Oh, bummer. All right, now for the Big West, and then we'll close off the college basketball segment. So UC Irvine has punched their ticket into the Big West Conference tournament, and as well as I think UC Santa Barbara. UC Irvine's only a half game back of Hawaii, which is good. UC Irvine's actually playing the best basketball of the SoCal schools, as they edged out Bakersfield on Saturday on the road, 72-68. Then the previous Saturday, they took down UC Riverside 62-53, which is nice. And then Santa Barbara, they unfortunately took a tough one on the chin on the road at Hawaii, 68-64. I did hear that there was like 4,000 at the Stan Sheriff Center in Simplify Arena. And then they also beat UC San Diego this past Thursday, 60-52. So for Santa Barbara, that's kind of... They're 2 games back of Hawaii, but they're still plenty solid. As the hottest team in the conference is, well, UC Irvine. They have the longest winning streak. My hope is for CSUN, I hope they're able to win a game. They've lost 23 in a row after starting the season 2-0. So I feel bad for the Lady Matadors. And their wins were against Utah State and Seattle in overtime. And Seattle has been pretty shoddy, even though they actually are starting to win a few conference games. They start off with no conference wins, and now they have 3. And then Utah State, like I mentioned, them getting boat raced by San Diego State kind of speaks volumes of how the season is going for Utah State. But ever since then, Cal State Northridge's women's basketball team they've seen better days. But hopefully, for their sake, they get at least one conference win. Please get a conference win. All right, but that's that for all of college women's basketball. So let's jump to a little NHL, as Adam actually informed me of this most recently. They actually took down the Boston Bruins in overtime yesterday, 5-4, and that was indeed a big win, just because the Bruins are kind of bullies. And the Kings actually managed to they had to come back from the jaws of defeat. Anze Kopitar actually scored on a power play goal with about 1:35 left before the buzzer. And then Clark was able to score in overtime So there you have it right there for the Kings. Like I said, this is a little concerning for the Kings, as it's good that they actually are back on track. But on Thursday, and also on Thursday, they took down the New Jersey Devils. But that was after they got smoked by the Buffalo Sabres on the road, 7-0. And Patty Bax obviously was doing cartwheels that night, because the Buffalo Sabres just straight up hosed the Kings. The good news is for the Kings that they're only 4 games back of the Vegas Golden Knights. They're still in the top 4 of the Pacific Division. They're only 6 points ahead of the Seattle Kraken, and they're 6 points back of the Golden Knights, and they're 3 points back of Edmonton. So Tuesday, the Kings host the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then Thursday, the Kings host the Nashville Predators. And then this upcoming Saturday, the Kings will host the Anaheim Ducks in the freeway. I think it's called the Freeway Face-Off. Either way, it's the Kings versus Ducks. And speaking of the Ducks, perfect segue to go into them, the walking funeral home of the NHL, as their most recent game, was absolutely dreadful. Yesterday they lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs 9-2. The fact that Anaheim actually mustered up a goal or two is quite astounding. Man, that's just brutal right there. 9-2? Fortunately, they beat the Ottawa Senators on Thursday 5-1. But Tuesday, you all thought that the Kings had a stinker against the Buffalo Sabres. Well, the Ducks had a somewhat even bigger stinker against the Montreal Canadiens, losing 5-0 on the road. Ugh. Fortunately for them, their road trip is almost over. And fun fact about Buffalo, that's their next opponent. They play them tomorrow, and it's an early game. It's a 9:30 a.m. game, but that's probably because of President's Day, because everyone's going to probably be at home, hopefully. But Buffalo, as Patty Bax one time mentioned, it's closer to Canada than New York City. So there you go. Have to bring that up for Patty Bax. And then Wednesday, the Ducks host the Columbus Blue Jackets before heading down the 405 to take on the LA Kings on Saturday. And they also host the Nashville Predators on Sunday, or next Sunday. And then they close out the month of February against the San Jose Sharks on Thursday the 29th. The Ducks, like I said, they are nowhere near a playoff spot. Get this, they're 22 points back of the LA Kings in terms of the final playoff spot. Straight up sad, my dudes. And then the Ducks are the 3rd worst team in the NHL, ahead of San Jose and Chicago. Sorry, Adam. But that's pretty much that for the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. We're going to take ourselves a short little break. When we come back, we have some NBA to discuss, as the Lakers and Clippers are in the All-Star break, and hopefully they're getting all the rest they need. And soon we'll have some MLS action with LAFC and LA Galaxy. Oh boy. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From where we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-host, Christopher Lehman. and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Definitely do check out the Extra Mile with Daryl Kinsey Jr., Michael Ward, and Christopher Lehman. They do an excellent job of breaking down motorsports, whether it's in Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, they have you covered. Welcome back to the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. All right, we don't have too much to get into, as let's talk some NBA. So the NBA is in the All-Star break, which is good, and thank goodness we get a little bit of a break from the Lakers and their sucking. That sounded weird when I said that, but for the NBA, the Lakers are actually not sucking as of late. They're actually doing pretty decent, if you ask me, because, well, they actually are 6-1 in the month of February. You would have thought that. They most recently beat the Jazz 138-122, where they didn't even have LeBron James in that game because he doesn't play back-to-backs, as Anthony Davis led the way with 37 points, which is good. The night before, the Lakers took down the Detroit Pistons, which thankfully they took them down after failing to take down the Spurs early in the season after they had 3 wins. The Lakers won that one 125-111 as LeBron James led the way with 25 points. So there you have it right there. And then the last Friday, not this past Friday, but the previous Friday, the Lakers took down the Pelicans 139-122. Thankfully, they won that one instead of freaking losing on Kobe Bryant's statue unveiling night. Freaking Lakers. Anyway, so Lakers are 30-26 at the All-Star break, which isn't bad considering they had that stinker in terms of the in-season tournament. So Lakers aren't back in action until Thursday when they hit the road to Northern California to take on the Golden State Warriors. And then the night after that, they head back to Crypto.com Arena. It'll forever be Staples when they host the San Antonio Spurs. They got to win that one. And then next Sunday, the Lakers head down to the Cactus State to take on the Phoenix Suns. I should also mention that on the 28th of February, which is a Wednesday, the Lakers and Clippers square off probably for the last time in the regular season. And then Thursday, the Lakers close out the month of February taking on the Washington Lizards, because there ain't no W's in Washington when it comes to the Wizards. Cale Henderson pops into the chat room. He says, the Lakers should have traded Braun to start over. Yeah, and he actually did. He actually was asked how many years does LeBron have, and he says he doesn't know, but he says he doesn't have too many. I'm guessing that's the indicator that he and Bronny James might not play with one another, which, well. He's also going to be playing in the All-Star game, but he's not going to be playing heavy minutes, and for good reason, because if I recall correctly, I think LeBron got hurt in the All-Star game last year, and then he had to miss some time. And this is the All-Star break is kind of the time where you got to be getting treatment to heal your injuries and not make your injuries worse. So for the Lakers, they need everybody healthy as best as possible, because if they don't, I don't know, they'll probably either be in the play-in or they could be on the outside looking in. Now for the Clippers have had their ups and downs as of late. This past Wednesday, Valentine's Day, they took down the Golden State Warriors 130-125, which I thought was a very good win, considering it's so tough to win at Golden State, despite 41 points from Steph Curry. James Harden led the way for the Clippers with 26 points. Paul George also had 24 points. Norman Powell also had 21 points off the bench, which is definitely good. I don't think Kawhi Leonard didn't play, probably because of load management, or maybe, I'm pretty sure it's load management. The previous game, 2 days before, the Clippers actually lost to the Timberwolves at home 121-100. So that was a tough one right there. That was a punch to the chin right there. And then the Saturday before the Super Bowl, or 2 days before the Clippers lost to the Timberwolves, the Clippers took down the Detroit Pistons 112-106. I kind of don't understand how they lost. They only won by that much. That should have been a smoking. It was to the point where the Clippers actually did not cover. Gamble responsibly, by the way. The Clippers were 16.5-point favorites, and they only won by 6. Gamblers, if you took Clippers at minus 16.5, I feel for you. Should have taken the Pistons plus 16.5. But gamble responsibly, by the way. But the Clippers are back in action Thursday when they hit the road to the Panhandle State to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then the day after, they head to the Bluff City to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. And then Sunday, they head down to NorCal they actually head back home to take on the Kings at home. Going to be televised nationally. And then Wednesday, they host the Lakers in their final game of February. So the Clippers, unlike the Lakers, they're actually where they want to be. They're only 2 games back of Minnesota. They're third in the Western Conference. They've shattered expectations and then some. The fact that Kawhi Leonard is healthy, Paul George is healthy, James Harden is actually cooking, and Russell Westbrook is not being an arrogant son of a gun is kind of surprising. But I guess Tyronn Lue is that player whisperer to the point where his players buy in, because I didn't even have the Clippers having that many expectations, because the Pacific Division is so stacked with the Suns still having KD, the Kings basically trying to take leaps and bounds from last season, the Lakers surprising everyone and going to the Western Conference Finals, and then the Golden State Warriors probably having their one last hurrah with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So all in all, for the Clippers, I gotta say I'm really impressed with them. I did not think that they would be number 3, if not number 3 in the West, let alone the best team of all the teams in the Pacific Division. So there's that right there for the Clippers. The MLS starts this upcoming weekend. So the MLS is going to be happening actually it starts this week, but there are no SoCal teams playing, so we don't give to you-know-whats. Anyway, so LAFC actually hosts Seattle to start the season, which is good. I think this is a great matchup to have regarding LAFC season opener, just because, well, for starters, LAFC beat the Seattle Sounders in the Western Conference playoffs, which I found pretty funny if you ask me. So it's good to have these two rivals facing one another. And then that's basically that for LAFC in their opening week of the MLS season. And then Sunday, the LA Galaxy, oh gosh, here we go. The LA Galaxy actually host Inter Miami, and I'm not sure if they have Mr. Soccer himself. Looking at their roster, Lionel Messi. I'm not sure if they have Lionel Messi, because it only lists their position. That's lame. I can't even get it in alphabetical order, which I think is hot garbage if you ask me. But it does. No, Miami does have Inter Miami CF. So Miami does still have Lionel Messi. He's the second oldest on the team. And I think it's kind of fitting that the Galaxy get to host Inter Miami because, well, Los Angeles is a hotbed for sports, and it is kind of a hot, flashy city. Sometimes. But that's that for this upcoming weekend in the MLS. I guess I should note that I will be back on the air this Friday for another episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is just to make up for last week, but this upcoming Friday, I'm back at the normal time unless fully stated otherwise. So there you have it right there regarding that whole sort of thing. All right, now we got to get on into Dum Dum of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week, all right. No one is safe from this award. It's an award I like to give out to either an organization or to a person that did something really dumb. And I kind of am thinking about giving Dumb Dumb of the Week to my taste buds, just because I saw an email from Domino's saying, come satisfy your hunger. As tempting as that sounds, I don't want to. So we have actually quite a bit of Dum Dums of the Week to go over. So let's start off with the obvious one. All right, so sometimes I'm the worst predictor out there, and sometimes I'm the best predictor out there. So for starters, I predicted before the season began that the Kansas City Chiefs were not going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Now, in my defense, it's been a hot minute since since a repeat champion happened in the NFL. The last time that happened was the 2004 and 2005 New England Patriots. Unfortunately, last Sunday we saw the Kansas City Chiefs pull off what I did not think was going to happen. They actually beat the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime in the Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. My prediction of the Chiefs not repeating went up in smoke. It basically vanished, just like the Niners' chances of winning after they basically gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So, God, why did that have to happen? Freaking Niners, dude. But that's only part one of my of me getting Dum Dum of the Week. Part two was basically me just putting off SoCal Supreme Sports Show for as long as I can. I swear I really tried to go live yesterday. I really wanted to go live at noon. I was only going to do an hour show with no commercials and then head out the door to basically cover some volleyball. But unfortunately, I had to get a new internet plan. There's a new internet modem that needed to be installed, and there was not going to be any internet. So, yeah, I couldn't do SoCal Supreme Sports Show yesterday. And I thought I was going to be able to do it today at noon. However, I had to go basically change my plan in terms of my phone and my internet plan and whatnot, and pay off my phone, which thankfully I was able to do with a little bit of help from my parents. But I couldn't do it at noon, so I had to move that time to 3 p.m. Pacific time. So, I first and foremost, I do apologize to everybody for putting off SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I know y'all are going to forgive me for putting it off for as long as I can, but I really feel horrible for not going live, just because I really would. If I could have gone live Thursday, or I also could have gone live on Friday. Even though I was at Orange Coast College and heading off to cover some volleyball on my own. But I could have taken my stuff and maybe I could have done like an hour show in in the conference room. But I feel bad for A, thinking that the Chiefs were going to repeat as Super Bowl champs, and B, well, I'm sorry, not bad, but I also feel dumb for basically saying that the Chiefs were not going to repeat as Super Bowl champions, but they did. And then B, I also feel dumb for basically not being able to give the people what they want, what they need. And one of my New Year's resolutions was kind of to basically keep SoCal consistent as possible. I know the NBA is not going to basically allow me to be consistent because I got to take the weekends off to go cover the NBA, which hopefully I'll be able to have some more news soon. But I'm fortunate to do a show today, but I need to do better in terms of my playing. So this week I'm one of the Dum Dums of the Week because I can't predict to save my life, and B, I can't plan a consistent show for SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So I'm Dum Dum of the Week.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Yeah, I promise you all, for this Friday, I'm back at the normal time. Nothing is going to get in my way. I promise. Alright, but that's the first Dum Dum of the Week. Dum Dum of the Week number 2. Alright, so this Dum Dum of the Week, unfortunately, this is so unfortunate, and I hate that I have to kind of report on this news, but I will just say, I feel bad for the person that lost their life and the 22 people that were badly injured because of this. So, some idiots decided to while Kansas City was basically having their celebration for their parade, unfortunately, some idiot decided to basically have a shooting during their parade. And I feel my heart goes out to all of Chiefs Kingdom and to everyone that was involved in the shooting. And I did hear that the 22 people that were injured were discharged from the hospitals that treated them. But honestly, it just feels... I feel sick to my stomach. And one person brought this up best. You can't do anything without fear of possibly someone shooting you. And I feel fortunate to be in the position where I'm at, where no one's going to be shooting up anything. And I'm thankful for security and for everyone that basically is keeping us safe. And I'm thankful that I'm not in a situation where I have to fear that I could lose my life. And I hope to God that never happens. I'm just hoping and knocking on wood and hoping that never happens to me. But the people that basically brought the gun and shot up everything, was shooting up everything, you are not only dumb, but you're effing scum. Unfortunately, I don't have the explicit tag, so I can't really curse all over the place. But you are a scumbag. You are terrible. Well, scumbags possibly. And I feel horrible. And I feel bad for everyone that has to be involved. And little kids were at the freaking parade. Kids, like young kids, like not even in their 10-year-old stage. But why would a shooter just do that? And to the heroes, you get the Big W award. You get my Big W award. To the people that basically treated everybody and their injuries and whatnot, you get the Big W award. So, yeah, it was 2 teenagers arrested. All right, thank you, Gen B. But to the 2 teenagers arrested, you're not even worthy of scorn for the sound effect. But they're Dumb of the Week for the purposes of basically just putting everyone's lives at risk at that Kansas City Chiefs parade. So you're Dumb of the Week, and I don't give a flying F who you are. You're an effing ass clown. At least I'll try to say that. I blame Adam for installing that word ass clown in my vocabulary. Alright, but that's that right there in regards to that. Alright, before I move, and then the last thing regarding Dumb of the Week before I move on from the Super Bowl. Alright, what I want to know is this. So, as you all know, the game went into overtime. The Niners and the Chiefs went into overtime. But you want to know what happened? Apparently, some of the San Francisco 49ers players did not know the new rules to overtime. Yeah, well, this was bad. I'm sorry, but you have to know these new rules and regulations. And some of the people that I went to a Super Bowl party last Sunday, and some of these people didn't even know the rules of the overtime period. So, how do you not know these rules? This was implemented because of the Kansas City Chiefs, aka the Buffalo Bills. Sorry, Patty. So, of course that you need to know these rules, but it's just inexcusable that some of these Niners players did not know the new rules of the overtime game. It's called a rule book. Have it on hand. And I don't know if I should blame the players or the coaching or the personnel for the Niners' blunder in overtime. But honestly, I still think the Chiefs would have won. I mean, even if the Niners got the ball second, even if they deferred to the Chiefs defense was definitely stopping anyone and everyone. Like, that Chiefs defense was pretty insane, if you ask me. And Kyle Shanahan's a dumb for freaking abandoning the run game after it was so successful in the first half for the most part. So, I just don't know who to give this award to when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. But regardless, the Niners are dumb of the week. They're all dumb. Except for a select few, like maybe Brock Purdy or Christian McCaffrey and whatnot. But still, the Niners are all dumb. You have to know the rules to overtime. You actually have to plan on it, because whoever has the ball last is going to be successful. And Brock Purdy was slinging that ball quite nicely. The only reason why I think maybe the Chiefs would possibly beat the Niners in that scenario with a field goal is if the Niners run out of time, or they just turn over on downs, or they basically just turn the ball over in general. But To the Niners, you're all dum-dums. You basically have allowed a new dynasty when it comes to the NFL. Now the Kansas City Chiefs are basically the New England Patriots Jr. back when they had Tom Brady from the 2000s and the 2010s. So, Niners, you're dumb! Also, I just got to also mention this. The Rams are the last NFC West team to win a Super Bowl. So, you lose. But the Niners, you're dum-dums of the week. I don't know how to say this anymore. You're dum-dums. You're dumb!
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Alright, now we gotta get on into the last dumb of the week. And Jen B, I'm glad you are in here. So, oh boy. Apparently I was shown this a couple days ago. And I was basically just flabbergasted when I saw this. Oh man. So this was courtesy of The Dogs, a Cleveland Browns podcast. And apparently Mike Florio says, although Deshaun Watson has been suspended for 11 games by the NFL for allegations, the league has not completely ruled out the possibility of further punishment. Tom Pellisario says the settlement of the 11-game suspension covers the 4 stages of what the judge ruled on, blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, Jen B, our very own Jen B, kind of got involved in a little bit of a crossfire. She voiced her opinion. She said, Mike Florio has been decidedly anti-Watson since the trade happened. He doesn't work for the NFL. He's just stirring the pot during slow news periods. Oh boy. And then she also puts as a disclaimer, the whole point is that Florio is blowing smoke. The NFL cannot punish Watson further unless there are new allegations or if Watson violates the terms of the settlement agreement. Otherwise, the NFL is in violation of the agreement. Well, Jen B definitely makes some good points. But apparently, there were some ding-dongs that decided to take this a little bit further. And there are two people, and first and foremost, I'm glad they weren't targeting Jen. If they were targeting Jen and basically saying bad things, I would have had to put them as dum-dums this week. But apparently, well, Mike Florio decided to basically blow smoke up everyone's you-know-what. And then there are these two that basically had this long argument in regards to a reply to the Show of the Land. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 messages long with 2 different chats. First and foremost, go argue about that somewhere else. Second and foremost, this is why I don't get involved in stuff like this. This is why I don't reply, just because I don't have time to see my notifications blowing up. And this is why there's a nice little feature on X, formerly known as Twitter, called the Mute This Conversation feature. So they don't have to basically talk about this. They were just talking, they even used Kobe Bryant in regards to a statue. It's like, first and foremost, take Kobe Bryant's name out your mouth. Second and foremost, shut up. Don't reply to Jen B. Don't reply to anybody. Oh my god, this was some funny stuff if you ask me. Oh my god, this was so stupid. So, I don't know who to give Dum Dum of the Week to. To the 2 people that decided to reply to the Show of the Land after Jen B was voicing her opinion, or to Mike Florio for blowing smoke up everyone's you-know-what in regards to Deshaun Watson. But I will say this, y'all are dumb as heck. I'm just going to give everybody in regards to that Dumb of the Week, except for Jen B. Jen B's not getting Dumb of the Week because she made some really good points, if you ask me. But to the 2 carry the 3 minus 4, to the 3 people that were basically replying to Jen's post and basically had the notifications blowing up, and to Mike Florio, who basically was blowing smoke up everyone's you-know-what, you're dumb! And yes, I understand Deshaun Watson did something dumb as well. But you want to know something? It doesn't mean you got to basically blow up the Show of the Land's notifications. Just stop, dude. Again, this is why I'm not involved in regards to replying a whole lot on X, formerly known as Twitter. But to everyone who I just mentioned in regards to the replies and to Mike Florio, y'all are dumb of the week because, well, you don't have brains. You don't have brains. You don't have logic, and you're just spewing up random stuff like I do when it comes to spewing up mucus when I'm sick. Sorry if I made anybody sick in that regard, but y'all are dum-dums of the week. That's all I gotta say.
That's so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. Like I said, if I see any tomfoolery when it comes to my comrades on IE Sports Radio, you're gonna be put on Dum Dum of the Week. I don't give a crap who you are. It could have been a whole lot worse, because if they were targeting and basically just straight up spewing utter nonsense, I would have basically had to step in and say, hey, step off of Gen B. And this goes for any of my other teammates. Like, I did actually, this was actually from 3 weeks ago, but apparently Daryl, my good buddy, or one of my IE Sports Radio comrades, I guess I kind of spoiled who it was, Daryl Kinsey Jr., apparently someone was arguing with him about Taylor Swift and whatnot. And I wanted to step in and tell him to step off, but I just couldn't instigate to do so. But like I said, if my IE Sports Radio family is getting basically a tough time, or you're giving them a tough time, you're going to be on Dum Dum of the Week. I don't give a crap who you are. You will be on Dum Dum of the Week, and I will show no mercy. You might even get the double sound effect. Well, on that note, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to get on out of here, because it's almost dinner time for me in that regard. Yeah, dig! Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Again, I apologize if I was putting off this show going live for a little longer than expected, but I can assure you, I will be back at the normal time on Friday at noon. I promise you, nothing is going to get delayed or pushed back. I promise. I'm doing SoCal on Friday. I give you my word. Anyway, shout out to the chat room. Cale Henderson, Jen B, Patty Bax, Adam Karnick, Davidson Crooks, Ralph Calise. Y'all are awesome. I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow for Set Point and some volleyball action, even on President's Day. Until then, have yourself a great rest of the evening. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Just remember, y'all, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace and blessings. Enjoy your holiday. Don't do anything dumb, or you will be put on Dumb of the Week. I'm out!